So I think there's two things that have happened in the last 24 hours, and I don't understand why there's just not this unbelievable outrage nationally, internationally. And the first thing is, you know, we this came out of from the post millennial, but Eric Adams had this press conference yesterday where he discussed his meeting with Tom Homan. He talked about 500,000 missing children. And I'm sorry, I'm going to get emotional. There are 500,000 missing children,
Yeah.
and there's absolutely no excuse for this. And Republicans, Democrats alike, if I was Speaker of the House, we would be shutting it down. We would be having a much bigger conversation than the ones that are being had that I feel are so silly. They're so silly in comparison to those lives. And I'm a new mom, so this is part of probably why I'm like this. But I've always loved children and animals. So I want an answer. So that's my first question. I want someone to talk about this.
Yeah.
And my second thing is that God, Biden makes me insane. He just makes me insane. The night before Thanksgiving, they're saying that this pardon happened yesterday. It did not. It happened a couple weeks ago, the night before Thanksgiving. We just didn't know about it because it was the night before Thanksgiving. But he issued this pardon to a Chinese national who was found with 49,000 child porn images, and he's only served a year in prison, and he's completely absolved him of all his crimes. He waived everything, and now he's free. What is the justification for that? I think we deserve an answer to that one. There are others sure I have questions about. I'm not a big fan of a lot of them. Some of them I think are totally appropriate. What type of political leverage does China have on him that we felt like this was in the best interest of the country? And that's clearly what it says in the clemency letter. So those are my two things that I think we should be talking about, because I think it sends a much bigger message about what the priorities are with these two issues hanging out here.
Christy, thank you so much for that. And all three of us are parents and uh, really appreciate you raising it the way you did. Uh, it a lot of problems with the border not being shut down, but all the kids who've impacted,
And
it's
why are
just
our
a
representatives?
tragedy.
Why?
Yeah,
Why? And every
yeah,
single one of them stopping and just meeting, just
yeah,
stopping, going, okay, we all hate each other. We all got issues.
yeah,
I don't like you. I don't like you. But can we just solve this
yeah,
one? Can we just find half these kids? Can we find,
yeah. Well, let's have to find them all.
yeah, 100%.
Let's deal with that first. Sean, Dan, what's your view of what Christy said about kids and missing kids and caught up in this?
Yeah, I'm glad you raised this because we talk about family separation, and yet the number of kids and women that are trafficked over the border, thrown into the amorphous, to me, I'm with you. There are certain things that I feel like should be bipartisan. The defense of our country, the protection of our country, the kids. And yet, because it's Trump, we have to be against it. I just don't get why, if you care, if you are the farthest left person and you care about the environment and drugs and all this, then
Yeah.
you be like, hey, this is the reason. There's reasons, different reasons to come to the same conclusion, but we should
Hmm.
all come to the same conclusion, right? Whether it's
Hmm.
economic, security issues, human issues, safety issues. And this one just kind of does disgust me, because for all the talk about concern for families coming over the border and family separation and this and that, we have hundreds of thousands of children that are being trafficked, that are being brought in, and no one is looking at that and saying, yeah, that's one reason why we should stop this. So I agree with you. It's disgusting what's happening. When I went down probably 4 weeks ago to Arizona to meet with folks at the border, and they were talking about some of these other challenges that don't get the attention that the drug part of it does. It was amazing to hear this. So thank you for bringing it up. I do. And then I'll just, on the pardon stuff, do you want to wait, Mark, or you want to
Yeah,
just,
no, go ahead. You can do that,
I
then
just,
Dan will do them both.
I, there, look, presidents have the ability under the Constitution to do it. But I agree with you. I would like to, we've started to see some of the narratives and these 1,500 people come out. Some of these
Hmm.
people convicted for things. Same thing where I'm like, if you're Joe Biden and you've talked about nobody being above the law, explain why a person that convicted of child porn, of convicted of peddling drugs. It's one thing to get caught and go to jail or to have a sentence for marijuana or something 25 years ago. I understand that. right? You make a mistake, you get caught up in something, you turn your life around, you're helping kids out, you're okay, whatever. But there are people that have not atoned for what they have done,
Amen.
especially when it comes to children. And there is no reason that we should be commuting a sentence or pardoning them. And I think that it's unfortunately, to your comment, I don't see there being any accountability on this. And at least
No, I
what
don't
we
either.
can do is expose it.
Dan, both issues.
Yeah. I mean, I think, look, I don't think the Biden administration was just like, okay, children are missing. Like, I think it's horrifying. The border, to Mark's point, has been a mess under Biden's watch. It was a mess prior, but it got worse under Biden. The
Hmm.
party has not wanted to talk about it because I think they thought if they gave an inch, they were going to lose a
Of
mile.
course.
That they just could not allow any conversation on this topic because it would be to their detriment and the playing field would
It would
move
be.
right to Donald Trump. But that's, not a good excuse when you have hundreds of thousands potentially of children missing and who knows what has happened to them. So I think, I'm empathetic a little bit, but I'm also not that the Biden administration just refused to deal with this when everyone saw the problem getting worse and worse. On the pardons, it is a bipartisan tradition of some of the pardons being political headaches. Every party has, anytime you do something to the scale that it has just been done, I mean, I'm not surprised names weren't, put out right away. Everyone is digging through them. President Trump had some very unique pardons when he left office, for reasons that did not seem to make a lot of sense. So the pardon, this has been causing headaches for both parties for years. I don't think anyone would defend, or I would need to hear a lot more before I would try to defend the pardon to that specific individual. But it just causes headaches.
So the thing that I find fascinating about this, and we talked about it a couple days ago, I really think there was, and again, I'm not advocating, just to be clear, but if you put my hat on and say, if you're Joe Biden, what could you do in your final 30?
Amen.
Okay, I would say go out and find a bunch of people that were convicted of low-level drug offenses, possession when they were kids, things that tarnished their record, and wipe them clean. Okay, again, I'm not saying that that's what I would do. I'm saying if I were advising a Democrat, get some credit for key constituencies, especially among Black men, where he's done a lot. He's touted himself as a legacy, right? But when you raise it to the level of 1,500 like they did, and you're going to see, I mean, here's the thing. There's a lot of stuff when you get to that number, 1,500. There's cracks in that just happens. But this is where the sloppy gets noticed, right? And Trump, we had our own issues, right? We didn't vet things. There you go, Dan, you're laughing.
Just as long as that's pointed out. Yeah,
right.
exactly.
But I mean, but this, when you move fast, things happen and mistakes happen. And this is, again, where I just go, this was an unforced error. The Biden team could have easily sat down and said, Mr. President, you've tried to establish a legacy with the LGBTQ community, with the Black community. We're going to compile some
with the Chinese, I'm sorry.
And this was, again, another blown opportunity for Biden to go out the door saying, I did this for the Black community. I did this for the LGBT, whatever. He could have picked 5 constituencies.
I did this for the children.
Sure. And now we're going to but we're going to go through the 1,500 and dig up some people that got incarcerated for some bad things. And there's the bad part of it, the policy, but then there's the political, which I think we're trying to focus on now.
Well, and I think from what I understand, a lot of those pardons were for reasons exactly that you just said. They had rehabilitated themselves, like laws have changed. And so under current circumstances, I think one of the other things that unfortunately happens for both parties when it comes to pardons is everyone puts their hand in the cookie jar. All your friends, members of Congress, everybody because the power is absolute. You're leaving office or you're transitioning, and everybody weighs in. Please, 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 please. And for a guy who's been around for 50, 60 years, there are a lot of IOUs out there. And somebody may have said, you're going to take a hit, but if it's 1 out of 1,500, everyone will move on, and you say, for you, I'll do it. And unfortunately, again, both parties have this problem when issuing pardons.
We need different people in Washington.